Hello, and welcome to United, a podcast for change. I am Lori, your host. Um, Tonight, we're talking about everything tonight. All the crazy, all the nutbaggery, and I don't mean that in any kind of way. I want to welcome everyone that's joining us live, and whether you watch live or on the replay, I very much appreciate your support. Um, but we are going to get into everything. Sorry, my hair is still wet. I got a little caught up with the new Trump indictment, which that's also now been added onto the list. Here's here's the list of things that we're going to go over tonight. Uh, Before we get into it, if you would please like, subscribe, feel free to comment in the comments. How this also works, if you would like to at any point, there is a link at the top of the description that says join the conversation. So if you want to appear here next to me on the screen and offer your thoughts that way and have a discussion, you are absolutely more than welcome to at any point through the stream. We just ask, like, I don't cuss anybody out, I don't make fun of anybody, so I would just ask for that in return. So why not start off with Trump? Um, we'll start with the Georgia, the Fannie Willis investigation. Right now, it is still at the stage of investigation. She has reported that she expects to have charging decisions by September 1st. So, as of right now, there are no indictments, and who's to say whether there will be any indictments against Trump in Georgia? We'll find out by September 1st. And Trump's team, they did file a motion to disqualify Fannie Willis, the prosecutor, and also to quash the grand jury report. Both of those requests were denied by the judge because, as of right now, there's no case. It's still in the investigation stage. So, because there's no case, the judge ruled that, Donald Trump doesn't have standing to bring that request. So it's basically, wait to see if you're indicted, and then if you're indicted, then then you can file those things. So that's Georgia, as far as Trump. Florida, which is the classified documents case. Prosecutor Jack Smith filed a superseding indictment, and superseding indictment, it just means that it's an additional indictment after the original. So it's just another one. This one added a few more charges against Trump and Waltine Nauta, his body man, and it also adds an additional defendant who was another Mar-a-Lago employee. And this additional indictment in Florida has to do with, like a conspiracy to delete video footage. Because there's security cameras throughout Mar-a-Lago, and allegedly there's video of people moving boxes of allegedly classified documents that were supposed to be turned over. Um, so this additional indictment has to do with, like, the conspiracy to obstruct, the conspiracy to destroy evidence, that sort of thing. If anyone has any questions about the superseding indictment, I can pull it up. I have a copy of it, and we can go over those additional charges. I have no problem with that. And then, as of a couple minutes after 5 p.m. today, in D.C., the D.C. federal court, Donald Trump has been indicted on 4 counts. The first count is conspiracy to defraud the United States. Count 2 is conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. Count 3 is obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. And then count 4 is conspiracy against rights. This has to do with the election, the 2020 election. The 2020 election, the certification of the election that was to, occur on January 6, 2021, the violence that occurred on January 6th, 2021, um, and it is a 45-page indictment. Uh, and again, if anybody has questions, or I might have to actually do a separate stream on going over that separate indictment because it's 45 pages long, and that'll take a minute to read through. But it is very detailed. It is another what's called a speaking indictment, and it just lays out the background of our election process. Once the election is over, and you know the constitutional steps that the government, both the federal government and the state governments, have to take in terms of their electors, and the paperwork that has to be filed and signed by the electors and submitted to the president of the Senate, which is the vice president, and at the time that was Mike Pence, and also to the National Archives. Um, so this concerns, like the fake electors that were put together in certain states, the conspiracy to basically kick out the election and keep Trump in office, or have him declared as president. Um, So yeah, I can go through that. It really is detailed with different conversations that have been had. There are also where is it? There are 6 co-conspirators. Uh, and right now the indictment is just against Donald Trump. These 6 co-conspirators, they can be charged or indicted separately. Um, in a separate case. That's all yet to be determined. Um, and right now, because they're not indicted individuals, they're just given the names of, co-conspirator 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then there's a description of who they are. And some of them is pretty easy to figure out who they're talking about. Like co-conspirator 1, an attorney who was willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that the defendant's 2020 reelection campaign attorneys would not. And as you go through the indictment and you read the different things that co-conspirator 1 is alleged to have done, or in certain instances that we know that this person did because news reporting came out at the time that this person was doing these things, it appears that co-conspirator 1 is Rudy Giuliani. Co-conspirator 2, an attorney who devised and attempted to implement a strategy to leverage the vice president's ceremonial role overseeing the certification proceeding to obstruct the certification of the presidential election. Now, this reporting had come out at the time that this refers to John Eastman, and he drew up this memo of all these different ways and plans, basically how they were going to stop the certification, to keep Trump in office. Co-conspirator 3, an attorney whose unfounded claims of election fraud the defendant is Donald Trump, privately acknowledged to others sounded, quote, crazy. Nonetheless, the defendant embraced and publicly amplified co-conspirator 3's disinformation. That could be Sidney Powell. It could be a couple other people. Seems like it might be Sidney Powell. Possibly not. Don't quote me. Co-conspirator 4, a Justice Department official who worked on civil matters and who, with the defendant, attempted to use the Justice Department to open sham election crime investigations and influence state legislatures with knowingly false claims of election fraud. This seems like it might be Jeffrey Clark, who at the last minute at the end of Trump's presidency. Um, there was reporting that he was going to put Jeffrey Clark in as like as like the actual attorney general, because he was willing to send this letter out to the different states, um, basically falsely stating that they were investigating the elections that occurred in these different states. Um, but again, don't quote me, but that's just from the context who it seems like it is. Co-conspirator 5, an attorney who assisted in devising and attempting to implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. Co-conspirator 6, a political consultant who helped implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. Um, no idea off the top of my head who those two could be. It doesn't appear that Mark Meadows is listed anywhere in the indictment. Certainly not by name. I think there's one section that has like in brackets, it's, defendant's chief of staff. But he's certainly, any of the co-conspirators, it does not appear to be Mark Meadows. And this indictment, this could be the only indictment in DC. The co-conspirators, there could be separate indictments against them. Just like in Florida, there could be superseding indictments. There's a lot of videos, texts, emails surrounding this time period, because it's basically from, like October 2020 through January 20th, 2021. And just the number of different people. So, more to come. While I am a Democrat, while I do not personally care for former President Trump, I don't celebrate that he has just been indicted in D.C. for attempting to basically steal the election, the 2020 election. It's an interesting, like I feel weird. I support the rule of law. I support the Constitution. So on one hand, it's a good thing that, if there's evidence of a crime, that the legal process is being allowed to take place. I think that people that break the law should pay for it. No matter who that person is. I don't care about their political affiliation or anything like that. I don't wish, criminal proceedings on anyone whether it isn't warranted. I don't support that. But if there is actually evidence of crimes, then no matter who it is, they should be charged and put through the system, the justice system, that is. So in that respect, grand jury found that there was evidence that supported these crimes. So rule of law it's working. But on the other hand, like I don't like that a former president has been indicted, because I feel that someone that has the honor of sitting at that desk in that office should be held to the highest ideals of our country. I somebody who's president shouldn't commit crimes, and they certainly shouldn't commit crimes that goes against our democracy. That it's just not something that an elected official should ever do. So in that respect, I'm not celebrating. I'm not sitting here with the popcorn and, and an adult beverage and, woo, Trump got indicted. No, I know that others are. I know that there are other people, um, that are either on the left, um, or independents or whatever political party, that are jumping up and down, celebrating that, Trump's been indicted again. I believe this now brings the charge count, the federal charge count, up to 78 different felony charges, um, which isn't a good look. Uh, I don't believe overall that the DOJ or the FBI or anything like that. I don't believe that they're weaponized. Um, I don't see this as political retribution or election interference, because these investigations were going on before Trump entered the race for 2024. It is my opinion and belief. My hair is going to get on my nerves today. It is my opinion and belief that Trump entered the race solely to avoid being charged and being held accountable. I'm from New Jersey. I'm in New Jersey, born and raised. Um, this is who he's been forever. Um, so in that respect, like, I don't see this as, I don't feel that this is like political retribution. Um, it does make things wonky because he is currently a candidate for the Republican nomination. Um, and his claims that it's, oh, if they can come after me, they can come after you. It's not actually an accurate statement. It's easier to go after or to charge an ordinary citizen than it is the president or a former president or a congressperson, like any type of elected official. When you get into elected officials or the super rich people, um, you need to make sure that all your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, because usually when you get into, like, you know, politicians that have committed crimes, they know lots of people. So if you screw it up, you're going to have your ass handed to you. It's easier, because ordinary everyday citizens aren't going to have they aren't going to have the big money attorneys. They don't like we don't have the power that the powers that be have. Hi, Sue. Um, Sue has commented, in my opinion, this should disqualify him from running. Um, I I think I would agree. His presence in the race certainly muddies the water, and it potentially sets us up for some type of constitutional crisis, um, because the Constitution, it talks about, like, to serve as president, you need to be, an American citizen, you need to be over a certain age, and ta-da, that's it. Like, it really doesn't, the Constitution really doesn't say, hey, if you're a convicted felon, you can't be president. You can't serve in the office. I mean, I know that I think it's the 14th Amendment. I think it's the 14th. Um, one of the amendments that does talk about, basically, if you've taken an oath to defend the Constitution and you betrayed that oath, then you can't hold any office in the future. But the whole thing is that, like, this is the first time that this has ever happened. So there's not going to be case law. The Supreme Court hasn't ruled on something like this before. Um, I mean, there may be cases at the state level that, had to do with, state politicians, but there's nothing on a federal level because this has never happened before. So, y- you know, we could definitely get into some really weird constitutional issues. Um, if Trump, let's say he doesn't drop out, but these cases are tried and, verdicts entered before the November 2024 election. And he wins. Like that, and yes, a sitting president can pardon. But the general rule of thumb is that you can't pardon yourself. And like presidential pardons only relate to like federal crimes. Like, and there's state cases. Like there's going to be potentially a Georgia case. There's a New York case. Like Trump wouldn't be able to pardon himself in those state cases, presuming that, guilty verdicts are rendered in those cases. Um, so then, like, again, we would have a sitting president that's a felon, that's a convicted felon. And then it's just, how do we handle it? It could get very weird. Um, I mean, and I personally think like just for the betterment of the country, that he should withdraw. Um, because it muddies it up. And, it's not a good look for the country. Um, but it's crazy. But yes, there's a new indictment today, a couple minutes after 5, 4 counts related to seeking to overturn the 2020 election. Oh, and the last um, the last count 4, which is conspiracy against rights, that refers to our right to vote. Because this conspiracy and this whole plan, if it had been successful, it would have disenfranchised the votes of everyone who voted for Biden. Um, so that's what that means, the conspiracy against rights. It's a conspiracy against our rights to vote for who we want to be president. Um, so that's all I want. Oh, and I forgot to mention, a trial date was set in the Florida case for May 20th, 2024. Um, it was initially set for August of this year, and then the prosecutor filed a motion to basically extend the time, seeking to put it out until December of this year. Trump's attorneys, in their response to that motion, they asked the court to basically just indefinitely stay the trial until after the 2024 election. And it looks like that just in that case, Judge Cannon, she split the baby. Because May of 2024, it's like 6 months roughly from December, and then from November. It's like right in the middle. Whether that stays that date, nobody knows. We're not going to know until we get closer. Because there's different things that Trump's attorneys or Walt Nauta's, or I think it's Carlos de Oliveira is the new defendant. The attorneys can file different motions that will, that can delay the trial date if the judge grants the motions. But as of right now, it is May 2024. And to go a little segue, there's reporting that Judge Cannon, who was the judge in the Florida case, who was a Trump appointed judge, is apparently been receiving um, not a super crazy amount, but about about 2 dozen, either like death threats or, threatening emails, phone calls, um, which is not cool. That should never happen. Um, and I hope that all of that is investigated and all of those people receive visits from the appropriate authorities, and or depending upon the seriousness of the threat, that they're charged accordingly, because you're not allowed to do that. Um, and the last little bit about Trump, the Koch brothers, they have a special PAC or super PAC called Americans for Prosperity Action. And apparently they've been raising money, and their aim is to not have Trump be the Republican nominee for the 2024 election, which is odd because the Koch brothers, they're Republican. Um, so they're actively working against him. Um, and they've raised about $78 million so far. Um, so who knows? We'll see where that goes. And because right now amongst the Republican candidates, I mean, Trump is he's killing it. He's got over like 50% of the vote, which is just crazy. Speaking of crazy, because that's what this is all about today. This is going to be all about the crazy, because it's just all nuts. Um, we've got DeSantis, Ron DeSantis, airing the weirdest ads I've ever seen. Um, One was an homage to hot shirtless guys, um, which okay, I'm down. Um, and then the last one, I think it came out last week. Uh, Somebody stuck a Nazi symbol on the Florida flag. Um, like whoever DeSantis has working for him, in my opinion, they suck, because they're either not properly checking these things and not catching um this really inappropriate thing to put in a political ad in 2023, um or they're doing it on purpose, which is worse. um I certainly don't think that anybody that you know knowingly promotes any type of Nazi ideology should be anywhere near an elected position. That's fascism that we beat once. Um, it's just ridiculous that in 2023, that it seems like in some ways we're backsliding to that. Um, and Florida, I'm really feeling bad for Floridians who are I've been to Florida many times. It's a beautiful state. Um, Lovely people. Um, but DeSantis he's dropping the ball on his state, and I don't think there's any way that he's going to become the nominee. Uh, Even if Trump does withdraw from the race, I don't think DeSantis has there's so many things wrong with that man. He's just like, he's not personable. And just the he's so hung up on this woke that he's anti-woke. Yeah, some of the progressive stuff, you know, changes hard in, at times, and it seems like the younger generations, they're just more ebb and flow, and it's just easier for them to be like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll do this today. That's cool. All right, fine." You know, and for people that, you're just used to certain things, that when it's just, well, now we got to do this and we got to do this, and oh, now you got to change this and now you got to change that. And when it's just a lot all at once, it's human to feel overwhelmed. It's human to, when we're like, just, whoa, just hold on a second. Um, and it's not that people may necessarily disagree with whatever the change is. It's just that there's so much change and so much going on all at once that it can be overwhelming. And, people just need a minute to kind of wrap their heads around it. There's nothing wrong. Like, I personally, I disagree with using the term woke anyway. Like, and it's just like the way that, like, everything, it's, if you don't like it, well, it's, you're just being woke. Like, it's just, it seems like such a waste, and so just frustrating and silly, like infantile. Like, if we're all grown-ups, and like, we should be able to talk about things and find common ground, banter back and forth, debate, without just going, nah, it's woke. Go away. Taking my ball back because it's woke. And DeSantis just seems to be stuck on this, I'm the anti-woke governor. It's not a flex, dude. And then take steps to, enact laws that hurt people in your state. Like, elected officials, the government, they're supposed to be doing things that help as many constituents or citizens as possible. That's what it's supposed to be. Everyone should have the same rights, and where conflicting rights bump up against each other, that's where it has to be worked out. And it should be worked out with the people that it affects. For example, the whole trans bathroom thing. That it's, oh, no. We can't have trans women in the ladies' room. So let's rush and do these bathroom laws that, you have to be in the bathroom that goes along with what's between your legs. Okay. All right, but we're not taking into consideration that there are trans men who look like men, but they're not fully transitioned. Maybe they've had the top surgery, but they haven't had the bottom surgery. So from the waist down, they've got lady bits. And so according to this law, they have to go into the ladies' room. And if the whole issue is that, biological women, we don't, or biological females shouldn't be sharing a bathroom with biological males. Well, trans men look like biological males. They're just not completely So it's nobody's, like, they didn't take the time to think about the what if, or not necessarily the what if, but just these different scenarios. It's just this rush to, let's get all these laws on the books, and we're supporting real women, and stop. Um, it's, let's get everybody outraged at everything, over sometimes nonsense. We have to keep people afraid of people that aren't, people that are different, people that love differently or look different. It and it's the same record for centuries. That if you want power, you take your people and you make them afraid of something else, and then you put yourself out there as, I'm going to save you from them. I think that the whole them and they, and the way that word has been weaponized and politicized, is disgusting. Um, because they're taking your jobs. Who is they? They think they're better than you. Who is they? I mean, it's a great mind fuck. It's a great manipulation tactic, because the person trying to manipulate you, they don't have to define they. You define they. And it's disgusting that there are people that's how they've gotten power. It's how they're getting the clicks and the views and the little bitty, help save America from the radical socialist, Marxist, communist, whatever ist. Let's add all the ists. Democrats and the demon right, or the demon left. Let's make everybody afraid, because when you're afraid, you're not. It makes it easier to manipulate a person. And between the outright nonsense and then the little subtle ways, whether it's, and just through all the different formats, whether it's cable news, or cable news in the case of Fox and OAN and Newsmax, which they're not actual journalist news. It's let's just keep cranking it up and making everybody afraid, and at some point something's got to give. At some point, people are going to get hurt, because it's just, let's ramp up the rhetoric and hate that person that's different so much that you actually begin to feel like a hero and a patriot, because they are ruining your country, and you're going to step up as a patriot because you love your country, and you're going to take care of them, only to find out after the fact that you were lied to. Like, something's got to give. Like we have to get to a point where we aren't just taking things at face value. And it's not easy because the manipulations and the lies are just like they're everywhere. And it is difficult to, search out the truth and find the actual truth, the truth that is the OG fuck your feelings, the truth that doesn't care about what you think or what you feel, because the truth is the truth, whether you like it or not. That's where we need to get. And it's not easy, but I think that if we all, within ourselves and our communities and in our interactions, that if we work towards that, it is achievable. Just because it won't be easy or it won't necessarily be quick doesn't mean it isn't worth moving towards. Speaking of lies and manipulations, and this one this one really pisses me off. Hunter Biden, in terms of the charges that were brought against him and the plea agreement. The plea agreement is on hold. It wasn't entered. If it had been entered, he would have entered a plea of guilty. But because it is on hold, he entered a plea of not guilty. That court case will do whatever it's going to do. And if he's found guilty and sent to jail, bye. But as far as the House investigation, this really pisses me off. If Joe Biden, in conjunction with his son and or his brother, back when Joe was vice president, conspired with foreign people to take bribes, to try to change policy, or whatever, and actually did that shit and committed crimes, lock them up. With Devin Archer, who is a former business associate of Hunter Biden's, he was, he did testify behind closed doors to the House committee yesterday. What pisses me off, one, I was interested in what he had to say, because he was a business partner, so he would know. So hey, if he's got the goods and he's laying it out, by all means, lock Hunter up, charge him. But it just seems like this investigation is just like a waste of everyone's time, because it seemed like, and I don't know if it's just me, and if it's not just me, let me know. If it is just me, let me know. But it seems like every week, whether it's Jim Comey or Jim Jordan or any of the other related Republicans, it's every week. It's, oh, we're going to get them. We've got so-and-so whistleblower who says nothing, who doesn't bring forth any evidence or testimony that's proof of a crime. Oh, FBI, we got the FD 1023 form, which is nothing. The FD 1023 form, it's a it's a summary of a conversation. It is unverified information. That was already looked at in 2018. Already, like, nah, like there's nothing here. There's no here. But here we go. We got the 1023. That's nothing. Then the next week it's we got Russian oligarchs. No, you don't. Oh, we've got a Chinese whistleblower. No, you don't. Like, how many times are we going to go through? Like, I'm so over all the Hunter Biden stuff. Like, yes, he was the son of at one point a senator. At one point he was the son of the vice president. Now he's the son of the president. But at no time did he work for the government. Like, I'm not down for the federal government going this hard in the paint over a citizen. Yeah, does he probably get perks because his dad's a politician? Probably. Is he the only offspring of a politician that gets perks? No. Like, this is nothing new. And then Devin Archer. Like, I wanted to hear what he had to say. All to come to find out, he apparently testified that Joe Biden takes his son's calls and that they speak frequently. But he testified that he was not aware of any bribe, and he was also on the board of Burisma. So it's not like he wouldn't have access to the books. And it's just week after week of, we got him now. And then here comes testimony, and it's Hunter Biden was trading on his last name. And like, we all don't know some little Richie Rich. Do you know who my dad is? Like, does it make the person doing that a little bit of a dick? Sure. Is it illegal? No. Like, and maybe he's going to be all, do you know who my dad is? You can guarantee little Donnie Jr. has been saying that his whole damn life. Do you know who my dad is? I mean, come on. If there's evidence that Biden took a bribe and then put forth some, policy as the gimme, and that's another thing that's changing, is the, what the gimme is. And all this time, like, it's been policy that, when Joe Biden as vice president couldn't change policy. There's been nothing offered that shows that he either himself changed or pressured someone else to change any type of policy. And if anybody tries to say, because this supposedly happened back in like, 24 between like 2014, 2015 to 2017, like somewhere in there. So if anybody tries to say that, oh, well, they bribed Joe Biden, back then, you know, so that when Russia invaded Ukraine, that, Joe Biden could, push for, arms packages and stuff, and aid packages for Ukraine. No, no, that's not going to fly. And the whole thing with the, well, Biden brags about getting rid of the prosecutor, Shokin, because Shokin was supposed to investigate Burisma. The problem was he wasn't, because there was corruption going on. So Biden and like 17 other countries, allied countries, they were all pressuring Ukraine to fire Shokin and hire a prosecutor that would actually investigate Burisma. So that policy would not have benefited Burisma. That would have gone against Burisma. It would have gone against the thing that Burisma was allegedly bribing him for. Hey, I'm going to pay you $5 million, for you to be nice to us. Thanks for the $5 million. Yeah, now, hey, new prosecutor, could you nail these guys? And if that was done, then why didn't anybody at Burisma come out with this shit years ago? Hey, we paid him $5 million. He was supposed to be nice to us, and he was supposed to help, like U.S. policy in our favor. Somehow, even though like the vice president doesn't have the power to write laws or enact laws, somehow, like, and it's just this, you know, uh, this weekly same shit, different week. Now we got him. Well, actually, no, we don't. When you've got Comey on Fox being asked, like, like, hey, have you been able to determine whether there's been any like crimes committed? Oh, well, we hope so. And you've got Laura Ingraham on Fox, like you don't need actual evidence. This just looks shady. You got, what's his name? Is it Byron? Is it Donalds or Donaldson? Byron Donalds. Him on Fox. Talking about, and it's the most ridiculous thing. You got him on Fox criticizing Joe Biden for taking his son's calls while in a meeting, and actually saying that, like, he's got adult kids and, they've got cell phones, and if they called him while he was in a meeting, then they would have to wait like, like 4 to 6 hours, but, possibly before he called them back. It's not the flex you think it is, dude. Oh my God. A father spoke to his son And that was another thing that Devin Archer testified to, that, these phone calls with daddy on speakerphone, they weren't talking about business. That it was just general conversation. Like, am I a fan of Hunter's? Not really. I mean, I don't hold his drug addiction against him. He's, for all that he's the son of a senator, then vice president, then president, he's had some trauma in his life. He lost his mom and his baby sister. When he was a toddler, and it seems like Bo was like the golden child, the firstborn son, and he did seem like a decent human being. Sometimes being the younger sibling to the golden child, it's not easy. And then his brother passed away. He got into drugs. He went buck wild for a minute, as can happen when you become addicted to drugs. So I'm really not going to judge him, too harshly for things done while he was while he was addicted. Because that's just how it goes. It's difficult to be an addict and function normally, and not make mistakes. So, I mean, I'm not gonna beat him up for the dumb stuff. Do I think it's kind of crappy? I mean, yeah, I know that it can be weird when you hook up with an exotic dancer, and it turns out that, oops, pregnant, and then there's a child. Like, I'm not a fan of. I understand that type of, that it can be difficult to maneuver. But, I'm just not a fan of how, he's treated that child. But at the same time, he's a private citizen. He's never, if he was a government official, I would probably have some different opinions. But he's a citizen. He's never held government office. I could see if you want to investigate Joe Biden, sure, go for it. He's the president. And if at some point, there's evidence that he took bribes for whatever reason, impeach him. By all means, but can we just stop with the manufactured outrage over what turns out to be nothing? And this is a phrase that my Italian grandmother used to use: shit or get off the pot. Because it's getting ridiculous. If there's no evidence of a crime, an actual crime, not, oh my God, Joe Biden answered the phone when his kid called, impeach him. Just be done with it. This whole thing with Hunter's laptop, like, enough. Oh my God, he did porn. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that he took naked selfies or he took pictures of female companions in various states of undress. Nobody cares. As long as they're all consenting adults, nobody cares. I don't care if he put the wrong shit on his taxes. He's a private citizen. And it'd be like the same, like, do I care if how my upstairs neighbor filed their taxes? No. No, I do not. The only thing that I would care about is my upstairs neighbor a serial killer, um, a rapist person? Do they have a meth lab going? Do they like to start fires? Um, that's the that's the shit that I would concern myself with. What they filed on their taxes, I don't care. I don't care if they've got an OnlyFans studio up in their apartment and they're doing weird, kinky sex stuff. I don't care. That's got nothing to do with me. Just like Hunter Biden's sex stuff has nothing to do with me. And it does not appear that, like, so far, I'm not seeing anything illegal. I definitely see some. Hey, you know who my dad is? It's not illegal for somebody to do that. Now, if Hunter went to someone and represented, like, hey, I can get my dad to do all kinds of stuff. Give me money. Like, and he defrauded the other person, well, then that other person has grounds to sue Hunter in civil court and get their money back. Plus any damages. It's not an issue for the United States government. It's not. If Hunter was influence peddling, but nothing actually happened, if he was just talking shit to people, sure, I can get my dad on the phone. Get big guy. So what? It would make him a shit talker. Possibly a fraud. Wouldn't make Joe Biden anything. Like, and that's just what it seems like happened. That Hunter's he just ran his mouth. Talk shit. Got nothing to do with Joe Biden. And we have another comment from Sue, whom I adore. Where she says it's not just her, it's not just me. I fully agree. If he did it, punish him. If he didn't, shame on them. Exactly. And well, we're talking about politicians, or politician what I mean. Senate Majority Leader, Senate Minority Leader, excuse me, Mitch McConnell appeared to have an episode where he froze while addressing the press, and then was escorted out. And I hope that if there are medical issues with Mitch McConnell, that he heals from them and he gets the medical care that he needs. He is 81 years old. There was also video of Dianne Feinstein, California senator, who was 90, where it appeared that she didn't know where I don't know if it was a matter of her not paying attention, or if she really just didn't know where she was and someone else had to tell her, like, vote aye. I know people talk about term limits for elected officials. I think that it would be discriminatory to have an age limit. You have your minimum age for someone to serve, but right now, like, there's no maximum age, nor should there be. I mean, Strom Thurmond, he was 100 before he left the Senate. But I do think that where warranted, where there's maybe some evidence of some cognitive decline, that there should be safeguards in place for medical intervention to make sure that, the people that are serving as our elected representatives are not just physically capable, but mentally capable as well. Yes, I understand that they were voted in. At the same time, if they're having issues, then objectively speaking, they're not working to the best of their abilities for their constituents. As far as Mitch McConnell, like, I did see some people talking shit, which is not cool. Like, I get not liking somebody, but it's not that difficult to, say nothing at all if you can't say something nice. And you don't have to say anything nice, but don't be a dick. There's no reason for it. Next on the list is Rudy Giuliani, who is being sued in Georgia by Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, the mother and daughter, like, voting volunteers, and they're suing him and OAN for defamation, because basically, Rudy ran his mouth after the 2020 election and allege that they were messing with the ballots when they weren't. And and they're claiming that he defamed them. And he just filed in the court. So nolo contendere stipulation. And nolo contendere is Latin. It basically means no contest. When you're charged with something, you can either admit that you did it, or you can plead not guilty. So, like, if you're admitting it, like, criminally, you would say that you're guilty, or not guilty. Um, but you could either, and admitting you're guilty, admission, say you're not guilty, you're not liable, or you can just say no contest, which it's generally speaking, again, this is not legal advice. It's basically treated the same as an admission. It's just not it's not an admission. But it kind of in a way is. It's basically like, if your significant other accuses you of cheating, and for argument's sake, let's say that you were cheating. You could either admit to it and say, yes, I was cheating. Sorry, honey. So that's an admission, or it's pleading guilty. The allegation is true and you're owning up to it. Or you can say, wasn't me. It's not guilty. You didn't do it. Or you need evidence to prove that I did it. And I don't think you have that. So I'm going to say it wasn't me. So that's the not guilty or the not liable. No contest is you cheated on me. That's how you feel. You're not admitting it, but you're not denying it. So in those cases, like, picture yourself with your significant other. If you said, like, that's what you think, that's what you believe, and you don't actually deny it, how would your significant other respond? And it's like kind of that same thing in a legal sense, in a court sense. So the stipulation that Giuliani filed, he's not contesting any of the things that Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman are saying that he did. Like, they're saying, like, you cheated. If we stick with the hypothetical, he's just going, that's what you believe. Like, I'm not fighting it. It's not him saying, I definitely said those things. It seems like he's going to try to present a type of, like a First Amendment type of defense, which, like, the First Amendment, it doesn't protect lives where people were hurt. And these women, like, they had to move because they were getting death threats and people were showing up where they lived. Like, they were damaged. You can't, like, First Amendment doesn't protect that. And, and while these were election workers, these are still private citizens, and usually, like, the scale for defamation and the ease in which defamation can be proven, it, like, the more public of a figure you are, the harder it is to prove defamation, because it's kind of like understood that, well, you've put yourself in the public eye, so you're kind of inviting both the people that like you and the people that don't, but then as you move down, you start up, really super well-known person, and you get down to ordinary citizen, Well, then like the bar to prove defamation is much, much lower, because these aren't people that like they didn't put themselves into the public. You put them into the public talking shit about them. You made them a household name and put them in the news. And, with as pissed off as everybody was, like these women could have been seriously hurt or worse, but he's filed papers saying, that, and they're saying like, hey, he lied about us and about the election being stolen. And he's just going, dude, like you're now effectively admitting that you knew that the election wasn't stolen. And by extension, you're effectively admitting that you intentionally went out and lied to Trump supporters, Republican voters, in claiming that these, fraud was taking place when you knew that it wasn't. Like he's admitted that, effectively admitted that, not outright admitting, in court. Um, it's and since that came out the other day, like, I've been thinking about like the Trump supporters and the MAGA people and all that kind of stuff. And like now they're telling you, hey, I lied to you. All that money you sent me for the election defense fund and the Stop the Steal fund. I knew the election wasn't stolen. Like I would be so pissed. I would be pissed, and I would also feel like a fool. And I'm certainly not making fun of or judging any Trump supporter or, MAGA person or whatever, for putting their faith in someone that, in multiple people that are lying to them and trying to, grift their hard-earned money. I've put my faith in the wrong people. Emptied my bank account, my savings account, for one thing after another. I know what it's like to feel like a fool once you find out the truth. Once you find out that, oh, you didn't actually care about me. You cared about what you could get from me. Even when like the money I gave, like I had to eat ramen noodles because I couldn't afford groceries because I was giving you money, and I was just the mark. I was the person you used. I know what that feels like, and it sucks. It's a horrible feeling. But with Rudy Giuliani filing that paper in court, that's what he's saying to everybody. That, all of these good, hardworking people that were used and are still being used. People that are donating to the one Trump PAC, presumably for his re-elect or like his election campaign, money's not going to that. The money's paying his legal bills, and it's paying for Melania's hairstylist. It's bullshit. And that like he still goes out and tells these same lies. And the people that are too chicken shit to stand up to him, because that's what you got to do. Trump's weak. He acts like he's all tough, but he's not. Shit, you get up in his face one time, he's gonna back down. He's he nope. And one of the things that also, makes me wonder. Like I grew up like, you know, for a while it was country and blue collar. And I'm certainly not, like upper middle class or rich or anything like that. Um, but a lot of blue collar farmers, like hardworking people that like work with their hands day in and day out. And like my one brother, he's got just a ton of friends, and all blue collar. And so I know that there's a lot of like groups of guy friends throughout throughout the country, throughout the world. You all know you've got that one guy in the friend group that's just brags all the time. That if somebody talks about something, well, he's going to one up and he's going to do it better and he's done it better and he's got all this stuff. Like just that braggy, where like, oh my God, he's just like, he's full of shit. That's Trump. Trump's the braggy dude in the friend group that you just kind of like tolerate because it's whatever. He brings beer, or whatever. Somebody that's braggy like Trump, and that when it's that other guy that's braggy, that he's bullshitting. But somehow with Trump, it's like, oh no, he's completely telling the truth. Why? Because he has money. Yeah, your money, and people like you that he pulled his bullshit on. Like, ugh. I'm so tired of talking about Trump. But news. Another area of contention that's come up in the last like week or so. It's the Barbie movie. And people flipping out about a Barbie movie. Barbie's a man hater. I know Barbie might look like a trad wife. She's not. She never has been. Barbie historically was to show little girls that they had options, that they could have dreams and be different things, that it wasn't just wife, mother, secretary, nurse, teacher, flight attendant. That females had options. And that's not about hating men. women pursuing their dreams and having their own goals and their own desires and their own wants. It's got nothing to do with men. Like, you don't have to hate men to want a job. We can hate the patriarchy, but Barbie's not a man hater, and like she wasn't designed to be Ken's girlfriend. Barbie came first. Ken was designed as an accessory to Barbie. Barbie's nothing new. So the amount of pearl clutching, what? Barbie's life doesn't revolve around Ken? No, it never did. It was all Barbie's shit. It was Barbie's convertible, and it was Barbie's dream house. Barbie's things. Not Ken's things. They were Barbie's things. And she's allowed to have them. Like, women succeeding or women being strong doesn't make men weak. Like, we each have things that we're good at. So, again, in my opinion, like, relationship goals should be partnering where you're complementing each other's, where if something, that I'm good at that my partner isn't, well, I'll take the lead on that. And then there's things that I'm not good at that, he is. Well, then he would take the lead on those. And you go back and forth and you trade off. That it's one isn't the property of the other in any respect. That you work together. So I don't get the fuss over a movie about a doll. But Barbie is not now, nor never has been, a man hater. It's we can support female success and female empowerment. It's got nothing to do with men. It's women supporting women. And it looks like country music, and I enjoy country music. I enjoy all kinds of music. People are just like the amount of hypocrisy going around. 1 week we had Jason Aldean release a song. Well, actually, I'm sorry. He released a video. The song was released in May. But he released a video for the song, Try That in a Small Town. And the left lost their minds. Because it was, oh my God, this, and I've seen the breakdowns of the different elements in the video that do have like either racist connotations, where there was a statement that Jason Aldean made after people lost their shit, where it was like, hey, all of these video clips, like they're all from news, like actual news stories. And then like there was the breakdown that it's no, this is a clip from, Germany, and this is a clip from Ukraine, and which Is Jason Aldean going to know that? No. Um, so like people that were like, he said that they were all news clips and they're not. Get over it. Stop it. Um, I I mean the song's all right. Um, and I do like country music. Um, I mean the issue, music and songs, they can be interpreted in different ways. If you've got 10 people listening to a song, same song, you there could be 10 different interpretations, which is the great thing about music. There is nothing in the lyrics that specifically mentions anything racial. But what it does mention, like I grew up in a small town here in New Jersey. I grew up in the garden part of the Garden State, and when I graduated high school, I actually had to go look it up. There was like 5,200 people in my town. To this day, the town I grew up in, we don't have an actual stoplight. There's one blinking where it's the intersection, and on one side it's the blinking red light, and on the other side it's the blinking yellow light. That's it. There are no gas stations in my town. We have a general store, which when I was a kid, my dad used to take us and we would get Slim Jims and Yoo-Hoos on our way out, because my dad boarded horses at a friend's farm, and on our way to go out to see the horses, we would have to pass a general store, and we would stop at the general store and get Slim Jims and Yoo-Hoos. And across from the general store is the inn. You can no longer, rent the rooms upstairs. At one point you could, but then the downstairs is, it's like a pub, tavern type thing. That is like the oldest operating inn/tavern in South Jersey, or Central Jersey, however you want to look at it. We had an elementary school. If we wanted to go to junior high or high school, there was a regional. There were like 5 small towns, that each had elementary schools. And then for junior high and high school, like all of us kids, like went to the regional school. I think there was like 300 kids in my graduating class. But small town. We had a firehouse. There's one church. I'm sorry, there's 2. And but it was mostly like farmland and shit like that. There, the whole carjacking old lady at a stoplight. Shit doesn't happen in a small town. Small towns don't have stoplights. Yeah, and like the town I grew up in, it's all like they're good people. But like my interpretation of the song came across. I mean, and I'm a big fan of Fuck Around and Find Out. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. I'm very protective of people that I care about. And, and while it's one thing to jump in to defend someone that is being damaged in some way while that damage is occurring, that's one thing. Where you are defending someone to prevent them from, being the victim of a crime. That's one thing. But there was almost like this vigilante, like, you act a fool in my town, good old boys are going to get together. And we're going to show you what's what. That's vigilantism. I'm not down with that because, well, my town growing up, we had the chief, the police chief, and 2 like part-time police officers. Like we didn't have to lock our front doors or back doors, or side doors or window. Like you didn't have to lock your car. You didn't have to do any of that stuff. But the law is the law. So, and I mean, bad stuff didn't. Well, I can't say that bad stuff didn't happen in my house when I was a kid. I mean, there was a father that did, like, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was little. Like he did unalive his entire, like his whole family. But like that was it. And I mean, it was horrible. But it's like we didn't have, there weren't fight. I mean, I'm sure there was domestic stuff, behind closed doors, but there weren't people like out like fighting. It was like I grew up rural, so there weren't people fighting in the streets. Like we would go out party in the woods. But there wasn't this, where like somebody did something in town and the town got together and like beat the person up. Like that stuff like that didn't happen in the small town where I grew up. And it comes across like dude, you didn't grow up in a small town. Like I think the video that it could have been more showing that sense of community, because there is a sense of, there really is like a, community in small towns. And that like they went for the car wreck because it would be more controversial to use the images that he used in the video. Like that song really wasn't going anywhere until he put the video out. Now he's making the money. So it just seems like these things were intentionally done to cause controversy. And but we had people like, well, the song doesn't say anything, and and if you just don't like the video, then just don't watch the video. There's no need to like cancel Jason Aldean. And there isn't. If you don't like him, just don't buy his shit. Like, but what other people do is what other people do. Because I mean, the song itself, there's nothing inherently racist in that song. I took it more of like a vigilanteism that could apply to anyone of any race. I do see where there are people that interpret it, as a reference to the sundown towns because of the see how far you get down the road line. I can see that. But again, like the music is subject to interpretation. So that may not have been the actual intent. Though, Does also seem a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge with that video. And then we had Tyler Childers last week. Beautiful song. That says nothing about gay people. It's about love. And again, songs can be interpreted. Like, just because somebody straight writes a song about love doesn't mean that gay people can't listen to it. Because gay people are allowed to love too. There's no like nobody owns love. It seemed like that was fine until the video came out. And then the people who the week before were like, just don't watch the video. We're now like, what the hell? It was hilarious to watch the sides switch. I mean, I like the Tyler Childers. I mean, it really is a really pretty song. Only because of how I interpreted the Jason Aldean song, because it doesn't represent, or it doesn't describe small town life that I experienced. And it almost kind of puts small town people in a bad light. Like, we're gonna bring out the torches and the pitchforks. The thing is, if you have police, if you or deputies or the sheriff, like, it's their job. If shit becomes too much to deal with, and the sheriff deputizes you, well, then that's a different thing. I'm not a fan of vigilantism. Stuff that happens in the moment, self-defense, all cool. But like taking care of shit yourself when they're actually professionals, I'm rule of law. I'm a fan of the law. So, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't want, if somebody did something to me or somebody that I love, I'm not saying I wouldn't want that vengeance. I would want it with a passion. I'm not even saying that I wouldn't have a human reaction. But I would hope that I would be able to let the law do what the law does. Yes, I mean, so just in that sense, like it, and I mean, Tyler, he wrote a song about love. And love is better than violence. In my subjective opinion. Yeah, but I mean, like, I didn't have a problem with the video for Tyler's song. Why I am straight, but I mean, I don't. Gay people are they're allowed to love too. I don't own love, so and it doesn't bother me, like, to see people show affection to one another. And there was nothing, like crazy graphic in there, which if it, even if it was like male and heterosexual, like, there shouldn't be that type of, graphic intimacy when it's a heterosexual couple, but there was none of that in this video. So, like, I know that there's people that disagree, And fine, that's fine. Whatever. You don't have to. You don't have to agree. Um, but it was just that the sides making the same arguments, the sides flipped. Um, where it's like, can we stop with the boycotts? And that was another thing. Like, I really didn't see anybody like tearing up Jason Aldean merch, but I did see videos of people burning their Tyler Childers merch, which he's already got your money. Just throw it out. Um, and just like the go woke, go broke. It's so dumb. Just people don't have to agree. People are allowed to like different things. So if I like something you don't, or if you like something I don't get to break shit. It's like I'm an adult. I should be expected to conduct myself like an adult and just go, you know what, that's not my thing. But if you like it, it's not hurting anybody. Have a good time. You're allowed. It's your right. So we'll see if there's any further uproar. And then I saved the best for last. Aliens. I mean, I think we all kind of knew that they were real because it would be really, really arrogant to think that we're the only intelligent life anywhere in space. That would just seem a little silly. And I mean, with movies like Men in Black and Star Wars and Star Trek, like clearly, the concept of there being other life forms, like it's not outside the realm of possibility. So what I find crazy, not crazy, well, maybe a little crazy, it's just that everybody's like, yeah, all right. Like nobody is freaking out that the US government has confirmed that, oh yeah, like, yeah, there was some biologicals. You mean aliens? UFOs are real. So I think that there should be a big fat apology to all of the Area 51 conspiracy theorists. They should get an apology because, hey, it turns out that they were correct. They were accurate. All of the Randy Quaid's from Independence Day should get a big, we're sorry. But it's hilarious and maybe a little frightening that everybody's just like, whatever. How you doing? I'm actually kind of excited. Oh, I'm dropping stuff. I dropped my mouse. What's it called? I did this a few weeks ago. But part of our merch is actually, oops. Where did it go? There it goes. It's actually a t-shirt that has a little alien doing the peace sign and it says be kind. And the reason for the shirt was actually just like a subconscious reminder that when, we come across people in our day to day who are different from us, or alien in the foreign sense of the word, um, just be kind. But now apparently there are actual aliens from outer space. So be kind to them too. And what's it called? So if anyone would like a t-shirt, the link is there's a comment pinned that has the link for the merch store. And there's also a link in the description. um, just to let our alien friends know that you come in peace. Uh, oh, I need to flip that there. All right, so we're coming up on like the 2-hour mark. Again, I want to thank everybody that has joined in live, whether you're watching on the live or the replay. I appreciate you. I appreciate you very much. If you want to help support the channel, there are also links in the description for that. With Patreon, or just like a little virtual tip jar type of thing. So if there are no other questions, I'm just going to say thank you for joining. As always, if you have questions and it's after you're on the replay, feel free to leave a comment. If you want me to go over the indictment, the newest indictment, we're going to have to start numbering them. This is ridiculous. But other than that, thank you all for joining, and I appreciate you, and have a great night.